The day has finally come, guys. Clay farm tutorial, let's go. You heard right, guys, we are finally doing it. You see, a while ago I posted a showcase on a clay farm that I designed, and it was a good clay farm. Actually, many of you guys seem to like it, but also many of you guys asked for a tutorial on it, and well, I'll tell you, it has been daunting. I've been dreading this day so much because to make a tutorial on a farm this big and that complex, it's gonna be hard. So what I decided to do is redesign the farm, take the basic concepts of it, the basic workings, the inner workings of it, and then design a new one. And this is it. I know it looks kind of the same as the other one, but that was the point. Just take everything that the other one had, make it better, make it simpler, and yeah, this is what I came up with. Some of the better things that it has now is the redstone is way simpler. It may still look a little bit complex, but it is way simpler, I promise. Um, the stone to moss conversion is 100% reliable, which is a good thing. The bone meal that it uses is way less. So look at this. This is the new bone meal farm that we are using, and it is way smaller than the other one. And yeah, overall, it's kind of better. The rates are not as great as the other one, but I think they are good enough. And yeah, to sacrifice a little bit of efficiency for all of these improvements, I would say it's worth it. So this video is gonna be kind of long, guys, I can already tell, because this is a big farm, it's a complex farm, and we have to see how to build it. So what I decided to do to make it a little bit simpler for me to record a video and also simpler for you guys to understand every single part is I color coded every single mechanism or part of the farm, which is something that I don't usually do. I normally use iron blocks. But to make it simpler and easier, yeah, I decided to do it. And I also have divided the farm in 4 main parts: the main producer, the blast thingy for the logs, the mud maker, clay maker, and the blast chamber for both in one part, and the 4th part is the bone meal farm. So we're gonna divide the video in those 4 sections and gonna try to make it as fast as we can. So let's get onto the tutorial. Alright, so as we've already mentioned, the first part of the farm is the block generator or block producer farm, and we're gonna start with the lime bit. Now, this part is the one that turns the farm on, the complete farm on, and it's just this bit, like a redstone lamp, node block, piston, slime block, observer, and when we turn this on, it will send a pulse through this repeater on 3 ticks. Now you can look at the lime bit, because I was debating with myself if I should do a block by block tutorial, but that would take ages, so instead I decided to build each system and just explain how it works. So the repeater is gonna send a pulse through this block that is gonna be pushed by this sticky piston that we have here onto a redstone line of 15 blocks long. Now from this line we have 4 repeaters that are getting the power out of there. The first one goes on the 2nd redstone dust, the block that has the 2nd redstone dust. Then we have a 3 block gap and another repeater, 3 block gap, 3 block gap, and 2 repeaters here. The next bit is the one that returns the signal back here so that the cycle can start again, and it goes with this redstone torch that, as you can see, has a block of offset from this piston to the target block. And then we have 4 redstone dust in a line facing into the block that has the first repeater right here. Diagonally we have another block with a redstone torch, and then a redstone line here that measures 14 blocks, and then 1 block offset here higher with another redstone dust to make it 15. On the other side we have a comparator facing into a block that powers this sticky piston, because this dropper right here is gonna have a block that will power that sticky piston. These are 2 droppers in a vertical formation facing into each other, and that's because whenever we power this block, the piston is gonna retract, and we cannot really extend it again until we power this top dropper, which we're gonna do with this redstone line with 2 redstone dust here and a block here facing into the dropper. Then we have a sticky piston with an observer that powers another redstone repeater on 3 ticks that is gonna send the signal through that block that is being moved by the piston. Then we have a node block right next to that sticky piston, then an offset block here and another node block, 2 observers facing downwards reading down node block, one observer facing into the bottom dropper with a block, which is the one that is gonna turn that piston off. So the next part is gonna be a little bit tricky for me to explain it to you, and also a little bit tricky to understand, so bear with me. And it is just these these sets of double piston extenders, custom double piston extenders, because what is gonna happen is we're gonna have the rooted dirt here at this level and the logs at this level. But to spread the moss the next time, we need an air gap here where the logs are, so we need to push it upward. And to do so, we have this double piston extender, which is gonna push the rooted dirt up. The logs are gonna be pushed as well, and then we need to return the rooted dirt back down so that we can push it forward and get it out of here. So the double piston extender is gonna do that, and then it's gonna retract the pistons once again to this level so that we can run a water stream on top of them and collect any items that are falling down onto here. It's a tricky one, I know, but I'm gonna show you how to build this, and we're gonna get onto the water streams in a moment. So basically we have this comparator here from the lime bit. We're gonna place 3 blocks here, and as you can see, very often on this part of the farm, we're gonna work on sets of 3. So we have 4 sets of 3 double piston extenders. So this is the first one, then we're gonna leave an air gap, then the second one, air gap, second one, air gap, third one, air gap, and fourth one, right? Hopefully that was clear. We're gonna put a temporary block here and another 3 blocks here. Then we're gonna place 3 repeaters on 2 ticks just like so. We're gonna come here, we're gonna place a temporary block and 3 observers facing downward into the blocks that have those repeaters, and then on top of the repeaters we're gonna place 3 observers facing upward, reading those repeaters and powering some blocks. Then we're gonna place our 3 columns of 2 sticky pistons just like that, facing upward of course. Then repeaters on 3 ticks right on top of the observers, and as you can see, the pistons should return to their place as you move the repeaters or as you set them up. If not, you can just replace them, and yeah. Then two observers on top of one another, facing or reading these repeaters that we had there at the bottom, facing into solid blocks just like so, and that's the complete double piston extender. We now need a repeater right here on top of this line block that will power the whole line, and notice how here at the end we have a target block to be able to power that repeater, because this redstone line is already 15 blocks long. So yeah, it should look something like this. Here at the top you can notice that we have stair blocks here on either end. These are to be waterlogged and the ones that are gonna spread the water. Now in between these 2 modules and these 2 modules we have a glass block here so that we can stop the water from spilling all over the place. Then in the middle, in the very middle, we have a wall here so that we can stop the items from passing to the other side and make them fall down. And then in the middle of each of these modules we have 2 glass blocks in a column formation, right like so. So far so good. Alright, let's keep going then. This next bit is super easy, and we're gonna start with the light blue. So we're gonna come here to the end of this redstone line from the lime, and we're gonna do like this W formation with blocks, and in the gaps we're gonna place 2 repeaters on 3 ticks each. On top of this block we're gonna place a redstone dust, then 7 blocks with redstone, then 1 block lower redstone dust and block, then 5 more blocks with redstone, and we should reach these snow blocks that we had already placed. In the middle of them we're gonna place another block with some redstone, and here at the end a target block. Now this redstone line is gonna power node blocks and repeaters on 3 ticks. The repeaters are placed on top of a block that is next to the middle observer that we had from the previous modules. So as you can see we have a block here, and on top of each block we have a repeater on 3 ticks. These node blocks and repeaters are gonna be read by observers facing upward on each of the modules, and these observers threw some stones, so we're just gonna place 6 stones right here, are gonna power these dispensers that, as you can notice, have a water bucket inside of them. This because they're gonna waterlog these stairs and slabs, and those stairs and slabs are gonna help us remove anything that is not an azalea bush so that we can save on some bone meal. Now here in this last module I made the distinction so you can see how they are placed with the prismarine, but in theory you could also place 3 stairs like this and it should work. I just like how this looks. The next part could easily be my favorite part of the farm, and it's the gray bit. So we're gonna start by coming here next to this target block, and we're gonna place a block here, and we're gonna do like a zigzag formation by placing 2 blocks diagonally here to the right and 3 to the left. Then we're gonna place 1 here on the back, and we're gonna fill in these gaps with 3 repeaters set to 3 ticks, and on this last block 1 redstone dust. Then we're gonna place a line of 19 repeaters facing that way. The first 2 have to be set up to 3 ticks, and the rest have to be set up to 2 ticks. Notice how the last one is sitting on top of a glass block so that we do not cut off this redstone line. Here on the end we're gonna place a block and then a repeater on 3 ticks covered by 2 observers facing upward into a block into a piston that faces that way. Then we're gonna cover all the repeaters that are set to 2 ticks with observers, and we're gonna leave this here for a second, because now we're gonna have to place 4 dispensers facing upward here on top of this redstone line that we have from the line bit, and they're gonna be centered in the center piston from this orange bit that we had placed before. So as you can see, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 dispensers, and fitting into these dispensers we're gonna have 3 hoppers on each, like this, facing to the back or reaching to the back here. And as you can see, they're gonna go over the observers that we just placed. So wherever we don't have a hopper passing through, we're gonna place just trapdoors, right? Then we're gonna cover all of these trapdoors and hoppers with a line of observers facing upward into some sticky pistons facing that way. On the face of these sticky pistons, we're also gonna place some normal pistons facing that way. And then below the normal pistons, we're gonna place observers, reading those last observers that we placed, facing into blocks. Now wherever we have the dispensers, we're gonna place moss blocks, as you can see. And this is the clever bit, or at least I think so. I might be a little bit biased, but this is how we spread the moss, but also it's a piston feed tape. And the way we spread the moss is by locking these repeaters to send a signal to these pistons to remove whatever is on top of the moss. Then the dispensers 2 ticks after are gonna be bone milling the moss so that it spreads. And but also we have the repeater line going through to make the piston feed tape, which is super cool, I think. Lastly, we're gonna continue the hopper line by coming here to this hopper at the end. We're gonna place a hopper and then a hopper line going all the way to the back here where the observers end, and 2 hoppers facing downward here at the top. Then we're gonna cover all of these hoppers with some composters just to limit the lag a little bit. It doesn't do much, but I like doing it. So the next is the pink bit, and it is to blast the azalea bushes with some bone meal so that they can grow into proper trees. Before we start, we're gonna waterlog these stair blocks, don't forget the other one at the other side, and then we're gonna cover the water streams with stone blocks in sets of 3, as we have been doing. Then we're gonna come down here to the line bit, and we're gonna start by placing a repeater facing out of this block that the comparator has. Then we're gonna do like a torch tower of 3 torches, so block, torch to its side, block, torch to its side, and then obsidian block and torch to its side. After the third one, we're gonna place a piston, a sticky piston facing upward with a observer facing that way on its face, powering a glass block here with a repeater on 4 ticks also facing that way. Then we're gonna do like a pyramid, an inverted pyramid of blocks just like this one, by starting placing a block on top of this observer that we placed at the beginning. Then we're gonna place 3 blocks diagonally here at the right, then 2 blocks, then 1 block, and we have the pyramid. Here on the center we're gonna place a comparator facing that way, and we're gonna cover these blocks with 3 redstone dust just like this. On the side of this one we're gonna place a redstone torch facing into a block and to a sticky piston, which is gonna be the start of the next part of the farm. And then on this side, right next to this block, we're gonna place a sticky piston facing upward. Now right here, we're gonna place these dispensers facing into where the azalea bushes are gonna go, and don't forget to leave an air gap here below them. Behind each of them, we're gonna place 2 hoppers fitting into them, and then we're gonna cover each of the dispensers with a leaves blocks and also the gaps here. Then we're gonna place on top of the first hopper observers facing into the leaves blocks, and then we're gonna come here, and to limit the jumping around of the items, we're gonna place glass blocks, 3 glass blocks on top of the orange ones that we had, and then an obsidian block here below the last one. We're gonna do that on every single gap that we have, and then here at the other side, we're gonna start a hopper line. We're gonna place a hopper on top of the last hopper that we have here, and we're gonna start a hopper line all the way through, fitting into that last hopper. We're gonna cover them with some composters, as I like doing, and then as you can see, the hopper line comes all the way through past the last observer and then turns to go where the Bonemeal farm is gonna go, which is this white bit. Then we're gonna place a redstone line here of 15 blocks long, right here next to the hoppers. Keep in mind that they have to be sitting on a solid block. Then we're gonna place observers here, one on top of this sticky piston right here, and then one on top of this hopper facing the other way, so that we can create an observer clock that will power the dispensers. Ooh, take a second to catch my breath. And we keep going. We're now gonna make the light gray bit for the stone generators. So we're gonna come down here to this repeater. We're gonna place a block right behind it, then 3 repeaters on 3 ticks each reading that block, facing into a redstone line that we're gonna start by placing 3 redstone dust right here, then 3 blocks in a staircase formation, 2 of them covered with some redstone dust. Then next to the last one, we're gonna place a repeater on 3 ticks, facing into a redstone line of 15 blocks long. Then we're gonna start placing groups of 3 redstone torches as we've been doing, starting from the very first redstone dust that we have here. So 3 redstone torches gap, 3 redstone torches gap, etc, etc. On the other side, we're gonna place some blocks diagonally wherever we have the redstone torches. So we're also gonna create groups of 3. Then we're gonna cover them with some redstone dust. And notice how on the last one we're gonna instead place a target block, because otherwise the redstone dust wouldn't reach. Then we're gonna place on top of this redstone line some pistons facing that way, also on groups of 3. Then we're gonna place on top of each of the redstone torches some sticky pistons facing upward to pull the stone down, and then push over here by the pistons. To see what's going on here at the top a little bit better, we're gonna come to this side and we're gonna place some stone here next to these piston arms. Then we're gonna place some stair blocks here at the top of this stone. Then we're gonna place glass in a Z formation like this, parting from this very stair block right here. We're gonna do it on each of these gaps that we have so that we can hold the water in. Then we're gonna cover these pistons with some glass blocks. We're gonna waterlog these stair blocks right here. Then we're gonna cover them with some obsidian blocks. We're gonna place some obsidian blocks here at the back as well with an offset block. Then we're gonna place lava here on top of these glass blocks, and we're gonna cover it with some obsidian blocks. The stone generators, as you can see, are done. Now we're gonna just cover this glass block with some obsidian blocks. If you are in the middle, also cover this too, but if you are in either of the edges, you don't have to do it because the TNT won't reach. In between the lava part and the bonemeal part, we're gonna have a collection area for the logs, and we're gonna do it with some water streams. So it's very easy. We're gonna connect the stone that we have here next to the sticky pistons to the one that we have here right below the dispensers. Then we're gonna cover the gaps with some glass. Here on the edges, we're gonna go all the way to where the sticky pistons are. In the middle, we can just go from here to where the stone ends, right here. Then here in the very center, we're gonna go 1 block lower, so right on top of this redstone that we have, we place a glass block, then 5 more all the way there, and then on the very end, just a wall block so that we can make the items fall straight down. Then we can put some water here, making a water stream. Here we're gonna create some walls to limit the jumping around of items. We're gonna place 3 glass blocks on this side where the dispensers are, then 2 on top of them, and then the rest we cover it with some obsidian blocks so that it doesn't blow up when the TNT goes up. Then we can just put some water sources here on top of these glass blocks, make the complete water streams. And finally, we're gonna place some more glass blocks here on top of the dispensers that have the water buckets. I also decided to put an extra water collection area down here, so we're gonna place 2 glass blocks next to this light blue block, then 1 on top of it, then 2 more here next to this observer temporary block, and 3 more right here on the other side. Then we're gonna place a wall here and some water over here. This is to catch all the moss and moss byproducts that are gonna be pushed by the pistons, and to make them all fall down in one single spot. I am so sorry, as it turns out we hadn't even finished the gray part, so we're gonna finish it by placing one glass block here on top of this wall, then a redstone dust block right next to it, 2 normal pistons facing that way, 1 above and 1 under, and then 1 final normal piston facing that way right next to the block. To finish this first part of the farm, we're gonna do 2 more bits, the magenta one and the brown one. The magenta one is gonna be a bit trickier to explain, but hopefully not too hard to follow, and the brown one is super simple. So to start with the magenta one, we're gonna come down here below this obsidian, and then we're gonna place on the middle one a normal piston facing that way with a block right under it, then 3 redstone dust going that way. We go down, and 3 more redstone dust also going that way. We come here to the last one, we're gonna go left, redstone dust, right up, redstone dust, right up, redstone dust, right up, redstone dust, actually 2 more redstone dust here on the third right up, sitting on some glass blocks. We're gonna place a solid block right next to the last one, and next to the glass block that holds the last one, we're gonna place a normal piston facing that way. And then we're gonna return to where we first went up. We're gonna go straight ahead down, and then to the right and place these 2 redstone dust, and then to the left another redstone dust, or actually straight ahead. and these two ends should be facing into solid blocks. The first solid block will have a sticky piston on top facing that way into a block, a solid block, and the other one will have a solid block, another solid block next to it, and this solid block will have next to it a sticky piston facing into it. On top of this sticky piston, we're gonna place a normal piston facing upward, and next to this normal piston, we're gonna place a solid block with some redstone dust on top of it, and it should be sitting right under the solid block that we placed a moment ago. Diagonally, we're gonna place a block with a redstone torch on top of it. Then we're gonna come back here, and right below the solid block that we have this redstone running into, we are gonna place another redstone dust. Next to it, we're gonna place a redstone torch. Next to the redstone torch, we're gonna place a solid block with some redstone. Then next to the redstone, we're gonna place a solid block right on top of it, and below it, we're gonna place normal pistons facing that way, and then next to it, we're gonna place finally a sticky piston facing that way. And as you can see, the magenta bit is done. To do the brown bit, it is super easy. We're gonna come down here below this solid block that has the piston on top of it. We're gonna place a redstone dust, then 2 more to the right, and then 7 more to the left. We're gonna come here to the right, and we're gonna place another redstone dust going up, and then 2 more, 1 to the right and 1 to the left. And the one on the right has to be sitting on a glass block, and both of them have to be fitting into solid blocks. Then on the left here, we're gonna place a solid block right where the redstone line ends. It has to touch diagonally this glass block line that we placed on the last bit. Then we're gonna place a repeater right below the glass block line facing into that solid block, and right back or at the back of the repeaters, we're gonna place 9 redstone dust on top of solid blocks, fitting into a lamp that will have a lever here, and this is to turn on and off the mud makers that we're gonna connect here to the brown bit on the next part of the farm. Alright guys, so the first part of the farm is done, and yeah, it was the hardest part, the more complex one, the one that was gonna take us the longest time. Actually, we are way past the 20 minutes mark, but hopefully for the other parts we're not gonna take as long, because they are a bit simpler. And yeah, I don't know if you noticed, but at times I had to up the pace a little bit during the explanation. Hopefully it wasn't too hard for you to follow through. And anyways, the next part of the farm is the blasting system for the logs, which we are gonna start with the green bit. And as you remember, before we had placed this green block with this sticky piston here at the top, we're gonna place an observer here at the top facing that way, reading a glass block with another glass block here below, facing into a solid block that is being read by 2 repeaters on 3 ticks facing into another solid block with a redstone dust here at the top. Then we're gonna place another redstone dust here at the side, a solid block here at the side with some redstone dust, and then a repeater on 3 ticks here reading from this redstone dust here. We're gonna place a solid block here in front of the repeater with some redstone dust here at the top, and we're gonna extend it so that it's 15 blocks long. Then we're also gonna place another line of blocks and redstone dust here below, also 15 blocks long. Then we're gonna make like a redstone staircase with some glass blocks. We're gonna start from placing a glass block here at the top of this redstone dust. We're gonna cover it with redstone, then place another glass block here at the side, cover it with redstone, and place another glass block here at the side and cover it with redstone. Here in the end, we're gonna place a repeater on 3 ticks facing into a solid block, and as we did here at the bottom, we're gonna place some redstone dust on top of it, and then we're gonna create another 15 blocks long line of redstone here below this solid block, and this one we're gonna leave it. Then we're gonna place a wall of sticky pistons here in front of these redstone lines, and this is to push some logs. So as you can see, we start from the very corner here all the way to the other corner here, right on top of this observer from the last part. In front of the sticky pistons, we're gonna just place some logs. They can be any log type. I am using cherry just so that it goes with the cherry leaves that we have here, and these are gonna be pushing the logs that the azalea bushes are gonna produce. Alright, the next bit contains the TNT dupers, and we're gonna start it with this redstone dust that we left off. We're gonna make a staircase formation with red blocks this time, covered with some redstone dust. The last one we're gonna extend by 2 more blocks, then we're gonna turn right and place 3 more redstone dust like this, and also we're gonna branch out from this one with 1 more. Both ends have to be fitting into solid blocks. This solid block we have to be reading it with 4 repeaters on 4 ticks each, facing into another solid block that then we're gonna turn and read it with 3 more repeaters also on 4 ticks. they're gonna be facing into an air gap here, and below that air gap we're gonna place a sticky piston facing that way, and on its face an observer also facing that way. Then we're gonna come back here and we're gonna place a repeater reading that solid block also on 4 ticks, and with the same formation of the piston and the observer. This observer is gonna power the TNT duper that we have here. I'm gonna build the other one on this side so that you can see how it's built, but they're basically the same. Now once the TNT is duped, we're gonna hold it here at the top for a little while until it's the right time to drop it so that it blows up at the right height. And the way we're gonna do it is by reading this redstone torch with a repeater on 4 ticks facing into 2 redstone dust like this. These 2 redstone dust are being read by a comparator facing into a solid block with a redstone dust, here on the side. This redstone dust is being read by another comparator, bringing back the signal to this redstone dust. Then next to this comparator we're gonna have an air gap, and below that air gap we're gonna place a composter on level 4, as you can see. And reading that composter, we're gonna have a comparator facing into a redstone dust that's gonna be read by this comparator that as well is gonna be reading this block that holds this redstone dust. This comparator has to be on subtract mode, as you can see, and it's gonna be fitting into an air gap with a sticky piston here below facing that way, and a trapdoor on its face. Notice how the trapdoor is on the bottom. That's because that way we can hold the TNT at the right height. And below the trapdoor and the piston, we're gonna place 2 obsidian blocks so that they don't get blown up by the TNT. Also notice how these 2 comparators and the redstone dust are being placed on top of nether bricks. That's because the concrete doesn't have enough blast resistance to withstand the blast of the TNT. So yeah, just keep that in mind. To build a TNT duper, it's actually quite simple. In front of this observer, we're gonna place 2 temporary blocks with a sticky piston facing that way right below it, then an observer facing that way right on its face. Then we're gonna place 3 glass blocks here starting from the face of the observer, just like so. Then we're gonna place a redstone block here on the other side of the observer, temporary block, glass block here, a redstone dust coming out of the redstone block, as you can see. Then we're gonna place a TNT block right there, temporary block here, normal piston facing into the TNT just like so. Then we're gonna place a node block right next to this redstone dust. We're gonna place a redstone torch, and as you can see, the circuit here is gonna be powered. I'm gonna grab some carpet just to limit the sound of the node block, just like so. We're gonna place it on top of there. We're gonna place an iron, or well, a trapdoor, it doesn't matter what material it is, right on top of this sticky piston, then an observer reading it, another trapdoor on top of the TNT, and another observer reading it. Then we're gonna place a temporary block right here. We're gonna surround it with obsidian blocks, and then we're gonna leave the gap here for the TNT to drop. For the holding mechanism, we're just gonna place a sticky piston right here, a trapdoor, bottom trapdoor right on its face, and then 2 obsidian blocks below both of them. Just like so, and we have the TNT duper. And with this, the second part of the farm is done, guys. And well, unfortunately guys, that's gonna be it for today, because the video is already reaching the 30 minutes mark, and I thought about it. Well, we could keep going, but I didn't want it to be this long anyways. So instead, what we're gonna do is divide it here. We're technically halfway done because the other parts missing are 2, of course, the Bonemeal farm and the blast chamber with the mud and clay generators. And those are very easy, so the next part, the second part, shouldn't be as long as this one. Anyways, if you want to build the farm already, if you don't want to wait for the tutorial, which should come out a week from now, more or less. But if you don't want to wait, of course, the world download is going to be available down in the description for you guys with this very world right here. Of course, the tutorial part is going to be cut off right here. So as it is, it's going to be going in the description. If you want to download it, go ahead. The Lightmatic schematic for the complete farm is also going to be included down there. So yeah, if you don't really need the tutorial, just go ahead and build it. Otherwise, I hope this tutorial was useful for you guys. Of course, I know it's not exactly a block by block tutorial because it would be impossible for me if right now it's already taking this long. Imagine with a block by block tutorial. So I did my best at trying to explain how it's built, the farm. and also how it works and why I made some decisions that I made throughout it, and hopefully it works for you guys. Let me know down in the comments what you think. Otherwise, I will see you in the next one, guys, which should be part 2. I'm gonna start recording as soon as I upload this one. So yeah, I guess I'll see you next week. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to leave a like, subscribe if you haven't done so, and I'll see you in the next one. Have a great week, have a great weekend, and goodbye.